There we go. We'll get it. Hey guys, welcome to the night special interview with our coroner here in Morgan County. Just wanted to let everybody know before we get started. Feel free to ask any questions that you may have. He'll answer anything that he can. But I do want to let everyone know that if you do have any questions on the ongoing investigation that's going on here in the county, that has a little bit of whatever to do with the coroner's office from the previous coroner, that is kind of off topic. I mean, we're not allowed to talk about that. That's something that doesn't really relate to Mr. Helton here. So he's not able to dive into that or anything. So if you got any of those questions, you may want to ask someone out in public or something, because we're not going to be able to talk about it. But without further ado, everybody probably don't want to look at me tonight, and I don't blame you. Without further ado, here's Mr. Casey Helton.
Hey everybody, like Michael said, my name is Casey Helton. I was appointed as Morgan County Coroner on May 19th. I am currently running for the office of coroner as a write-in candidate. Here to answer any questions you may have. So let them roll in.
Trying to get everything connected here for you.
Maybe just talk about some of your qualifications, some of your things, why you're interested in being a coroner.
Okay, so I've been around emergency services my entire life. My grandfather and my grandmother started the ambulance service in Menifee County in the 70s. My mom, my stepdad both worked EMS. Uncles have worked EMS. It's something I'd always wanted to do. So my senior year of high school, I took my EMT class, started working on an ambulance right out of high school. Joined the fire department as a junior firefighter at 13. I've stuck with that. Currently with West Liberty Fire Department. I work for the ambulance service here. I've been here about 4 years. And been a deputy sheriff in Menifee County. And all of it ties in together. Working for the coroner's office, I get to use the medical background I had from the ambulance service. I also get to do the investigative stuff that I got to do with the sheriff's office. And I really enjoy that. And people deserve someone that is going to be there and treat everyone well, treat them with respect, and treat their loved one with respect on the absolute worst day of their life. And I feel with my experience and my personality in general that I can do that.
They've got you on the ballot, and it's kind of a weird situation. They've got you on the ballot, as people can see that don't know, as a write-in candidate. Mm-hmm. You care to, I guess for the viewers that may not know what that means or how that works, maybe explain to that a little bit, and I'm going to pull up the ballot here as you're explaining it.
Sure. So write-in candidate is just what it says. There's going to be a spot on the ballot that says write-in. You're going to click that and simply type my name in. It can be my full name. It can be James Casey Helton. It can be James Helton. It can be Casey Helton, J.C. Helton, or just Helton. Just my last name has to be on there for the vote to count. The reason I'm a write-in candidate is where the dirty politics part comes in. I know there's been stuff shared about the dirty politics. When the former coroner, Mr. Van Cleave, stepped down, I was appointed as the coroner because I was runner-up in the last election. Frankfurt was called because Morgan County doesn't actually have a local Democrat committee. So the nomination for that position had to come from Frankfurt. Frankfurt was called. They said runner-up in the last election is the one that needs to be appointed. So that's how I got the appointment. For the nomination, it still had to come from Frankfurt. So I called Frankfurt. I called to the Democrat Party there in Frankfurt. Spoke with a gentleman, and he said, "No worries, we always go with who gets the appointment." He said, "Call me back in a couple days, and I'll let you know everything's taken care of. Well, fast forward a little bit, hadn't heard from him. When I finally get a hold of him, he was pretty rude, and he said, "You'll know everything you need to know on Friday." Friday comes, I didn't hear anything, and I found out at the beginning of the next week that Sean had got the nomination from the Democrat Party. Um, so I was lied to. They say we always go with who gets the appointment. That's the right thing to do, and then it goes to someone else. So that's when I filed my paperwork to run as a write-in candidate because I love the opportunity to serve this community, and that was the only way I was going to be able to keep this opportunity is to run as a write-in.
Yeah, I've got the ballot pulled up here on the screen right now where, you could see the write-in section underneath. I mean, there's a little bullet out here to the left. You'll select that bullet, and then, I think a keyboard, maybe like a little touch keyboard pops up, and then you type in, the name. I mean, I had never done one to the most recent election.
It's not a common thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's there, and that's the actual ballot. I mean, that's the way it's going to look on, our ballot. And you got any questions or anything going?
Nothing yet. They can call in if they want to ask questions.
Yeah, I'll put a phone number up here if anybody would want to call in. And you mentioned your opponent, Mr. Sean Van Cleve, and I kind of, I should have mentioned that in the beginning, but just because you're here doesn't mean we have any disrespect towards nobody or anything like that.
I've spoken with Sean
I mean, I spoke with him at the Sorghum Festival. Was it the Sorghum Festival? Seemed like it might have been. As it might be at the flea market. But I mean, if he's watching tonight or anybody that he knows is watching tonight, I mean, tell him to get up with me. I know we're friends on Facebook. If he would like to come on and talk, I mean, if you remember in the county judges race of last year, I invited both candidates on and, got one of them. The other one didn't come, but we're pretty open here to one, especially when it comes to our local elections and things. We like to have everybody on and do the best we can. But as you see the numbers up on the screen here, if anybody would be willing to call and ask some questions, I'm trying to think of some things that we've heard. I mean, really, the biggest question was, how does the write-in work? But I mean,
I think that's the most important thing is that we want you to. Everybody should have a fair shot, and the problem is that your name is not going to be up there for people to see. They're going to have to do something different than what they've done if they want to choose. If they have, we don't want them thinking they don't have a choice. There are choices in this election, and they need to be aware of that. And not everyone's familiar with writing. Like Michael said, I think the last time the election happened was the first time I'd ever done a write-in.
It's the first time I had ever even clicked on the write-in buttons. I mean, I didn't
know how it worked.
Didn't know. That's why I said I think a keyboard seemed like I remember the little keyboard or something popped up, and you just type it in just like you would on a phone or a computer or anything like that.
And that's the big issue with running as a write-in. It's not the common thing. It's not something that happens in every race. And it does take a minute longer to do it because you actually have to type in a name.
Well, and they have to know your name.
Yeah.
Helton.
Yep.
Sometimes I know people go to the ballot and we kind of forget, and we get up there and we see the ballot and you see the names and you're like, oh, this person's running for this.
Absolutely.
That's who I was going to vote for, but it's not going to be this case this time because you're going to have Sean Van Cleve on the ballot, which Michael's got pulled up here, and then if you're going to vote for someone for Casey, then you're going to have to put in write-in and at least put Helton.
Yep, last name has to be there.
Yeah, that was one of the questions that we talked about earlier today, but you answered it before we went on the air. As long as the last name is written in that write-in spot, yes. They know, at least unless there was two Heltons running, then there would have to be a first name of some sort. But so I mean, just to clear that up, if anybody that may not know Casey and may not remember his first name, but they remember his last name, you can type the last name in. Yep. So I mean, that is it's pretty cool, with the write-in. I mean, I'm not all that familiar with it, but still waiting to see if we can get a few questions in. You
can always message on Messenger if you don't want your name said and you have a question.
Yeah, let me check Messenger and see if I've got anything here. And like I said, we're not here tonight to be bashing anybody and Casey and I had talked the other day about it, and and I don't blame him. I mean, not willing to talk about this investigation, and I know that's probably
It has nothing to do.
it has nothing to do with you, and I know there's probably a lot of people that wanted to bring that up tonight and try to maybe take this in a different direction, but I'm pretty sure the way I've talked to you over the last couple of weeks is you just want a fair election, and you just want to go on with it. You don't
That's
want.
If there's questions about that, they need to contact a magistrate or the judge.
I would
that's
also like to state in your behalf too that Coroner does not make the salary that people probably think. Because I was very shocked at how much a coroner makes, because considering what responsibility they have, they are not making the money that our sheriff or judge executive or other county offices make. Coroner's very low paid, so this is not about money. Obviously, it's not about money.
I would be glad to show you the check stub. It's definitely not about the money.
You have Kathy and John Coffey saying great guy.
I appreciate that.
If I knew that was John, I'd say.
Oh, it's John.
Well, never mind.
He didn't say great. He doesn't say great when I'm on there.
Well, that's for sure. Danny Payton says Casey Helton as best man for the job. So we'll throw that on the screen here.
So it looks like you've got some support. Jacob Ratliff looks like he's watching.
Well, I would imagine he knows Jacob. So,
unfortunately,
I mean, you don't have to say it on the air if you don't want to, but I'm pretty sure you know Jacob. But
we're looking for questions, guys. Got any questions for him?
Definitely the best man for the job, Loretta Combs Littrell. So, I mean, you're starting to see your supporters rolling in here.
I appreciate the support. I really do.
And
the biggest tackle, guys, is remember that he's a write-in.
Yeah. Well, that's what I talked to him about, and I've talked to others about too when it comes to this. If both names was on the ballot in like a regular election, this would be a little bit easier for people to understand that, we can vote for whoever we want. And at this point, they have to go in and type it in. But, well, I guess that's a question we can ask while we're waiting for the next. I'm sure you've been out talking to people, so how's that going? I mean, when you go door to door, how?
Can you explain the process to them?
Oh, people are very open to listen to it. I think I've gained some support while I've been out talking to people. As well as my opponent, he's gained more support. But people are they're open to listen to how it has to happen, and I've had sample ballots, and I've showed them best I could, because obviously I can't pop up a keyboard.
Right.
But people have listened, and if you're having trouble, the poll workers will help. You just have to ask for help.
Yeah, they can't just walk back there and do it.
They can't do it for you. You have to.
But if you say, I need to do a write-in, I don't know how, they can step back there and show you what. Is that correct?
They can show you how to pull it up. They just can't type it in for you.
That's the way I've understood it. I've talked to Randy Williams, and that's the way I understand it. If Randy's on here and I'm saying anything wrong, I would appreciate if he would correct that.
Well, I imagine that you could, because if someone has difficulty reading and writing, you have to accommodate those people.
But it's not something they will just do. Like, you have to ask for the help.
Right.
And, another easy way to remember this, I'm going to be the very last bubble on the screen. Like, I'm the very last. So if you can just remember the very last to click to write for the write-in, maybe that'll help.
Right. Still got to type in Helton, though.
Still got to type in Helton. Last name has to be there.
If you don't remember nothing else, Helton is what you need to remember. So that
You might forget his first name, or you might forget that it's not Casey. What'd you say, James?
My first name is James.
James. You might not remember James. You might not remember Casey, but if you remember Helton, that's what he's saying that you need to put in.
That's it.
Buford Literal says, best man for the job all the way around.
I appreciate that.
While we're getting things rolling in, I'm just trying to come up with more and more things. I guess for the viewers that we have, I mean, what can you bring to them in, the time, that they lose a loved one? What would make them, want to consider you, for this role?
I'm compassionate. I have empathy. I've lost loved ones. I've lost, my stepdad. He a great man. He raised me. So that's just like losing a dad. I've lost my best friend. Tragic accident. I've lost grandparents, and I've lost my little girl, and that's the hardest thing somebody can lose is a child, and I can sympathize. I can relate to how they're feeling. Especially if it's a mother or a father. I've been there. I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a quality I want to have. Nobody wants to lose a child, but in this job, I think it does help. Uh, you know, Again, I'm with the fire department, I'm with the rescue squad, I'm with the ambulance service. My radio's always on.
It was just moments ago.
Yeah, it's sitting there now. I'm always listening to it, and I have a servant heart, I guess is what you can say. I'm always wanting to help people. I want to help my community, so I'm already going. So if it turns out to be the absolute worst day, the absolute worst case, I'm already there, and it really cuts down on response times and people having to sit there and deal with a loved one
and waiting on you
and waiting. Exactly.
We've got a few questions coming in, but one in particular is talking about you, and I'm pretty sure this person knows you pretty well, Miss Missy Hutchison.
Yep. No.
So might want to say something pretty good about you. He is kind and compassionate to people in their time of need. I hope people will see that we need a change for our community. And that's what she said. Larry Jividen said, when you're elected coroner and you got a regular job, will they let you off work when someone passes to go to them?
I'm actually the coroner right now. That's a good question. We do have it worked out. There's people that will come in while I cover my coroner duties. It's actually happened. I've been at work on the ambulance and I've had to call someone to come in and cover for me while I take care of that. So yes, that is something that is taken care of. It was taken care of actually before I was appointed. I was asked about taking the appointment, and I said I had to work everything out with work to make sure that there would be no issues, and it's worked out.
Buford said, will you respond in a timely manner when called? Just asking from a previous experience.
I do. There's been several calls where I pull up either with the ambulance or shortly before, and it's just because I'm already going to help. If we get there and there's nothing that can be done, then I'm there. But my first priority is always going to be to do everything I can to help this person.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking there off the air, about a local family member that had passed away recently, and you said you were the first person there. You were the first person on that scene. So I mean, that already.
I mean, you know where my house is. I'm what, 6 miles away.
Yeah.
And if I'm 6 miles away versus the ambulance being 12 or 15, I can get there a lot faster and get stuff started. And it's always going to be about helping. Whether you get there and there's nothing that can be done, or if there is a chance that somebody is going to be able to make it, that's what it's all about. Is just helping in any way I can.
We had a few roll in there back to back to back. Now they're
being quiet.
Well, here we go. Shelby Dunlap says he's awesome. Him and his wife helped me 2 weeks ago when I passed out. They was fast getting to me. I'm so thankful for them. So there's even some support from people that you have helped in a different role, in a different role, than what you're running for. But it shows that you're the type of person that will show up to help somebody.
And that's what I'm all about. You can ask people that have known me, a short time or a long time, and I'm confident that everyone is going to say, I always do what I can to help.
Yeah, like Shelby said, though, people remember, they remember who showed up. And for her situation, it was, you were there to help her. But, if it would have been a situation for someone else where you couldn't have helped that person, you were still there, and, it's always good to have, someone that is going to respond. What kind of questions you got?
I would ask everybody that's on there if they could just give it a share, just so we can get it out there more in the county. That way, if other people have questions, they'll be able to ask.
He's always just a call away. So very thankful for him. Loretta Littrell said that. So yeah, like was just said. If you're watching this right now, go ahead and give this a share. So, if there's somebody who may not be watching this right now live, and they see that he was on here, a little bit later tonight or in the morning or something, maybe they work the evening shifts, and they'll catch it later on tonight, and they'll be able to.
I'm going to ask this because I know that I've heard it tossed around and talked about morgue. You have somewhere to take people.
Yes,
that's a good question.
The rights are now restored with the hospital, and I've also worked really close with John Northcutt, and he has told me that he has a state of the art facility. Excuse me. A super nice facility, and he has a morgue in his office that if I need somewhere to store a decedent, John's phone call.
So you built some other resources besides the hospital, but that's been remedied, because I do know that that's something that's been talked about.
That has been restored.
Make sure that people are aware of that.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple of years ago. We knew that they had the morgue at the hospital, but it's only like 2 freezers and a little bed. That's something that maybe eventually here in the county that we can actually get.
I'm glad you brought that up. This is something that the judge and I have talked about several different times. I'm still waiting on quotes to come back, but getting a mobile morgue for Morgan County. That way it serves Morgan County, but in the event that something big happens, it's mobile. You can hook it to the back of a truck, and you can go. And again, it's about helping people. And
yeah, that would be awesome.
Do you know where the county is in that? Because I do know that Jim talked about that when he ran for election. That's something that we talked that he was talking to us about. Do you know where they are in that?
I'm waiting on quotes. Like I said, this is something that me and Jim have talked about several different times. I've put in a request for quotes, and people are backed up, I guess, still with all the COVID stuff. I'm not sure, but I have put in requests, just waiting on stuff to come back.
Yeah, that would be something nice to get here.
Absolutely.
Because if you remember during the tornado, there was a lot of stuff.
When you have a crisis like that,
you have another event like that, or anything, where you Northcutt may be overran with something coming in. The hospital. We need something else to to have, in the case of an event like that.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's something that you should be able to county fundraise for as well. That the people in the county, all of us, should have an interest in making sure that we have something established like that.
And I'm pretty sure the judge has worked on getting the funds. Maybe has the funds. It's just
a matter of getting quotes and
getting quotes and getting everything sent back in for it. I can't say that for 100%, but
right.
I know a lot of people look down and think the coroner's office is just some bad person that pronounces loved ones dead. But, to me, the coroner's office is probably the most important in this county. I know you got to have your law, you got to have, your judges and stuff like that. But, I mean, someone's got to do this, and it's highly important, to be prepared for this job and be ready to, step in whenever needed. I mean, you may get a call at 3:00 tonight to go to the Mountain Parkway, or you may be going up near the Johnson County line. I mean, you don't know, where you're going to go, but you have to be ready at all times. Where some offices close and go home.
You mentioned that you're on call what? So people know
24/7. I've answered calls at 2:00 in the day, and I've answered calls at
for very little money, guys. I promise you, he is not making.
No.
Well, that's what I was saying. It's a very, very important role that a lot of people, I believe, look down on because of that. I mean, when you hear that you're only making this very, very minimal amount of money a month, and it's probably one of the hardest jobs in the county. I mean, it's probably is the hardest job
of all. It's the only position that can arrest the sheriff, correct?
But it is the position that can arrest the sheriff.
Right.
The coroner is actually
it is a high position, right?
It is the highest law enforcement position in the county.
It's so low.
But it's not about the money.
No, I know it's not for you, but I do think that the state of Kentucky should look at the responsibility that's entailed in it and what the pay is. I know that you're not on here for that. I'm just saying that I just want people to understand you're on call 24/7. You're not making like a buku of money. You're not making money on this. It's not about the money.
Yeah, I mean, it's we've got a really good question here. What happens if you go to pick up more than one person?
The vehicle has room for two. And we're down a vehicle right now. That's something else that it's in the works. Is getting another vehicle. But if there's something like that, you can call in other counties that.
We've already said you have ties with Northcutt, so I'm assuming that John Northcutt would come help.
I do not doubt for a second that John would come. Frankie Porter from Wolf County, I've worked with him some. Both super great guys. Megan from over in Menifee County, she's a wonderful person. I don't doubt for a second that if it is a mass casualty accident that I can call resources from other counties to come help.
Well, that's wonderful to have too. I mean, he named Rowan County, Menifee County, and Wolf County. So that's three other counties right there that's already got a partnership with Morgan County. Right. That could step in here in case.
I've still got friends, that work for the coroner's office in Breathitt County. So I've got all kinds of people that I could call in the event that we needed more. I hope it never happens, obviously.
Yeah, we hope we never have to go through that. But I mean, you mentioned Breathitt County. I mean, Breathitt County a couple of years back, last year to be exact, had a flood hit up there. Sometimes things like that happen, and
there's multiple deaths. Yeah, as was Knott County.
That Mountain Parkway over there. I mean, that happens a lot over there on the Morgan County section of it. I mean, I've seen it a lot where the calls have had to go out over there. So.
This is radio. He thought it was me.
I was getting ready to say something to talking here. But as you see, his radio is always on him. So, if he needed to go, you'd see him jump up and go. So that's. But that's that's part of it. I mean, he not only is he running for this, he is a part of our local EMS. So I mean,
chief of the rescue squad.
So I mean.
Fire department.
in the event that it ever happened, we hope it don't. You know, he may be the rescue person that cuts you out of the vehicle and saves your life, or he could be the person that cuts you out of the vehicle and pronounces you. So I mean, we're hoping that don't ever happen.
Absolutely.
Which says something about his capabilities, though, that he's used to working in high adrenaline, high stress jobs. So that's a plus.
But if anybody's got any more questions, I mean, shoot them this way. I mean, he's itching to answer some more questions.
He's fired up now.
We've got him going now. We're hitting him with the hard stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's an important role, and I've always said that. I thought it was a very, very important role. I mean, I was shocked a year or two back when I learned about what the pay was.
I'm shocked at some of the things we vote for that our officials are not paid much at all.
My dad,
mayor was
which he's been on here, you know, asking you some of these difficult questions, but he actually, you know, this one here, and I wasn't there. I was in town when this happened, but I did speak with you at the hospital. My dad said, you came and got my brother and did a really good job. You know, and I remember, you know, I drove up to the hospital when they was flying him out that day, and you and a lady was coming out through there in an ambulance, and I said, where are they taking him? You know, and you all had told me St. Mary's and Huntington.
Yep.
You know, so I mean, you know, there's Dad. You know, he witnessed it when you come to my uncle's house. You know, I mean, unfortunately, he didn't make it, but you know, you were there and saved him for a little while longer. I mean, you know, he passed away a day or two later at the hospital. But you know, if nobody would have came, he probably would have passed away right there on the couch.
I remember that.
Well, we've either put everybody to sleep or they're just. I said we still got a pretty good amount of viewers. So.
That's just on here because some people message
well,
me
now
and they watch that from YouTube.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that we are actually airing on YouTube also. I mean, I'm only seeing the Facebook. But now through this system, if a question came in on YouTube, I would be able to see it. But I'll switch over here to YouTube real fast.
Yeah, I know there was one or two that messaged me and said, hey, I'm watching it on YouTube because I shared it to them.
But yeah, I usually try to do YouTube as well when it comes to these local things. You know, that way we have, because a lot of people don't have Facebook. I know when I did the episode with the county attorney, you know, back last fall, I did YouTube, and I at one point I think I had more viewers on YouTube than I was going at Facebook. It was kind of alternating back and forth, so I mean it was pretty big. But yeah, guys, I mean if you got any questions, you know he's hanging around for a little bit longer to answer any questions you got. I mean,
so election is what day? Let's just go ahead and throw that out there too, so people are aware. November the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, about
3 weeks away.
3 weeks from tomorrow, ain't it, bro?
3 weeks from tomorrow.
So
it's getting close.
Getting close. 3 weeks tomorrow from tomorrow, and then you remember to write in Helton. Write in Helton. Keep saying that.
And if you need a reminder, I'm gonna leave the video up. You know, if you think you would like to vote for him, his name's in big bold letters up there. You can see the Helton. Oh, yeah. And here I'll even put his name on the screen for you. You know, if you know, if you was to forget his name, you can always go back and watch his video. And say, what was that guy's name on there? I mean, like you said, as long as you put Helton on there, which it's got Casey on it, I don't know if they can see it on there. But as long as you write Helton, you know, that's all that matters.
Click on the last button, type it in.
Here, speaking of that, I'll show you if you're just now newly joining us, here's what he's talking about. There's what the corner part of the ballot's going to look like. I mean, of course, you're going to have the governor and a couple other things on there, but you know, this is what the corner ballot's going to look like, and then you would just choose the bubble
to the whole ballot. You don't do
I don't have the, well, I probably do, but I cropped it down to this. because I didn't want to have to try to zoom in. I'm sure people figured it out by now who they're going to vote for in the state elections, but this election here, to Mr. Helton is
Is this
important.
the only county election that will be on there?
There's two of them.
The clerk,
There's
circuit clerk.
There's a circuit clerk, the coroner's race, and then up the top corner, District 5 constable. So, which we'll talk about that at another time. So, this isn't the right show for that one.
Your dad said something.
Who did?
Your dad.
That can be a dangerous job in some cases. Uh-huh. How do you get it on YouTube? Missy, I am. What in the world? I've got this thing on me instead of Casey. I had it flipped around on me. Like what? I'm like looking at the stuff. Like what is going on here? You just go to YouTube and you can type in my name, or I think my username is at cornbread191 with a K, or you can just type in Michael Jividen and you should be able to find it on there. But
I'm gonna try it.
I like doing these multi-streams because it allows people that don't have Facebook to.
So, Michael Jividen, you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine there'd be too many of them, but who knows?
There's 2 in the county alone.
Well, I know that's the only 2 that I know. So,
I found it by typing you in.
you just typed it in and found it.
Yeah, I just put Michael Jividen.
And yeah, you just click on there. This should be
There he is.
Yeah, there he is, right there.
That's right.
We found it. Thank you. So, see, now you got a viewership on YouTube. What we got here? Good guy to vote for. Him and his wife came to her rescue when her baby got choked. I highly recommend him. He'd be the best. No better person. And that's Curtis and Katrina Peters. And which once again, is one of the comments about where you came to help a family out that was in need and help save a loved one or themselves. And, now they're backing you because they know, that you're there to help and that you would help even in this role.
I truly appreciate all the support I do.
Well,
Quiet crowd tonight.
yeah, they're quiet tonight. They just want to hear what he's got to say. But, if he's got anything left to say, we'll let him say it. If not, we'll let him close up here and go on out and give himself a final pitch, to the live audience about to support him 3 weeks from tomorrow, November the 7th.
Yep, 3 weeks from tomorrow, November 7th. Gonna be the last thing on the ballot. Click right in, Helton for Morgan County Coroner. Everybody, my phone number is posted everywhere. If you have questions, feel free to call, text, Facebook Messenger, whatever. I would be happy to answer any questions you have at any time. My phone's always on. And thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to me say what I had to say tonight. And I would appreciate your support and vote in November. Thank you.
November 7th.
November 7th.
Right in.
Casey Helton for Coroner.
Helton for Coroner.